alien spacecraft did not crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947.
You know flat earthers, I guarantee it. But you don't know who they are because they're afraid of talking about it.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system.
Hello and welcome to the 60th annual Subliminal Deception Podcast, your weekly dose of conspiracy theory bullshit. My name is Cody, and I'm joined by my pal Phil. How are you?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Not doing too bad. We, here in lovely Minnesota, we have experienced the cold weather about 2 days ago, and now it's humid out, so that's great. You remember that. How are things in your neck of the woods?
It's going pretty well, actually. You know, the pools opened up the other day, and going to the bar tonight. The shitty thing is we had hundreds in last week for a temperature, and now we're down into the 80s and 90s. So it's not exactly like as hot out as I'd like it to be to go to the pool, but I'm still enjoying the fuck out of it.
So how nervous are you about going to the bars? Are you confident? Are you like a little worried? Are you feeling okay? I'm
feeling good. I mean, I've been going to the grocery stores. I go to work every day. I'm not too worried about it.
I went to Menards the other day, which is I feel like it's a Midwest-only hardware store. But anyway, they have a masks-only policy. I felt really weird. This is the first time I had done it. But you see the entire store jam-packed full of people with masks on, you know. It's not so bad. But it's the one thing I noticed is because I went with my sister, when you're in there and you're trying to talk to each other, it's very hard when you have a mask on.
Oh, yeah. I haven't worn a mask at any time during this whole thing, so.
Nothing, none of your stores require it?
Well, Costco does.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the only one, and I don't wear one during work, so.
So I was going to ask you, we talked briefly last week about the protests in Michigan. Well, I actually read a story this week, or I saw it, that they had arrested, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it was a white supremacist group that had planned an assassination of the Michigan governor.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not hear that.
Yeah, so I don't know what is going on over in Michigan, but like, Jesus, you don't need to kill the governor over it.
Yeah, that is not the way to get things changed. That is the exact opposite thing that, I don't understand. If you want things changed, just honestly write a letter.
Yeah. Like,
you have to shoot people.
I don't know. It was something about an assassination plot, and they had arrested the people who were planning it and this and that. It was fucking, I don't know. That's wild, man.
Yeah, that's fucking insane. Do they think that it's only in their state that this is happening? It's something that just their governor is responsible for?
Apparently, I don't know. Our governor, because basically our state's pretty close to reopening. I think on the 17th is the official date, but the only thing that's going to be closed still is restaurants and bars. But I didn't hear no assassination plots. The only thing that's weird is for some reason the governor, when he gives his speeches, you can tell he's reading off a script, and it's kind of lame a little bit, but whatever. What are you going to do? Maybe he's not good at shoot from the hip.
Well, I think a lot of those politicians are just reading off a script, especially when you're giving up-to-the-minute news on what your state's going through. If you even screw up a little bit, you'll get jumped on for it. Like, look at Trump. Trump rattles off the crazy, stupid shit that he does, and people jump on him for it. I think that's what everyone's worried about right now.
Yeah, that's true. I saw obviously I've been enjoying the crazy people on the internet and their Facebook posts and everything, but I saw one where they're trying to, what was it? They're trying to create an organized forced opening in California, like in a few days or something. So they just said, if we all do it at once, the governor can't stop us or some shit. I don't know. People going crazy, man.
You would be surprised. It's just like I was saying with that fucking, we were talking about Area 51, like raiding Area 51. Oh, they can't stop all of us. First thing I thought was, no, you'd be surprised. They can.
I feel like they have quite advanced technology there. They could probably do what they wanted.
God, that feels like it was years ago. It was only, like, what, 8 months, 7 months ago?
Yeah, and of course, like, 3 people showed up?
Oh, yeah. Well, I could have told you, only a few hundred might show up. Only a couple of them actually tried to run the gates, but...
Well, anyway, should we jump into the weekly world news here, Phil?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Oh, I'm going to mention this real quick. So, occasionally on Amazon for this podcast or Bumblebutt podcast, I'll kind of just search for books or whatever to find for research. And I was just curious, be like, I wonder if there's like a how Weekly World News got started or something. And they found like this collector's, I don't even know, it has like all the best Weekly World News stories in it. It's like a little collector book or whatever. It was like $6, so I bought it. I'm like, this could be badass. Of course, it has Batboy on the cover.
Nice.
Anyway, so let's start off here. We got a story from Madam Bennett's. We'll start with UFO pilot knocks out man and kidnap his dog. I think it's kidnaps. I don't know why it says kidnap his dog. That doesn't sound right. Yeah,
it kind of sounds like when you get an email from a shady fucking, like a third-party consulting deal. It's spam, but they use that broken English where they don't put on, like, endings to sentences.
It's funny because I literally I keep getting these spam emails allegedly from PayPal, and they're so lazy they literally attach it to, like, 50 other people saying your account's been suspended. Like, people can see that. You're not even trying anymore.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is when you see, like dating profiles and you click on their little bio deal and it's all in broken English and you're trying to figure out, is this just a really dumb girl or is it some Pakistani dude like trying to pretend to be an American chick? I want honest man, good-hearted dude.
Anyway, let's hear this story here. A fisherman claims that he was knocked unconscious by the strange power of a space alien who then kidnapped his dog and took off in a saucer-shaped UFO. Alan Morris of Bethesda, Wales, says he was fishing in the river with his dog when he was startled by the approach of a ball of pulsating light. It hovered for a while over where I was fishing and then landed in a nearby field, he recalled. Moving closer with his dog to get a better look, Morris was startled when a hatch opened and a metal ladder dropped from the strange craft. 3 beings with antennae on their heads climbed out. To my horror, I realized that they must have been at least 7 foot tall with antennae and seemed to be carrying a bucket and spade each. The 3 creatures began digging when Morris's dog suddenly took off after them. Morris said he stood up to stop his dog when, for no reason, he suddenly blacked out. When he came to, Morris said the saucer and his dog were gone and only burn marks on the earth remained. So, 7 foot tall, does that, what are they called? The whites? Tall whites? Do you think that's what those were?
Yeah, which ones are the tall ones? Tall whites are tall, the Norse are tall, and supposedly the grays that aren't the little robot grays, but the smarter ones, the scientists, those are also tall, the tall grays.
Okay.
So first hearing that story, I definitely think it could be a new History Channel show featuring, because you said that they were had spades and shovels and buckets, so they must have been panning for gold.
Yeah, that or they're gonna bury someone's body, one of the two.
Yeah, a few years ago, it was all about people who were searching for gold. Was all the rave for those reality TV shows.
Right. I forgot about that. All right, let's do a real quick one here. This is Teen Startles Bigfoot Creatures.
All right. Where they happen to be in the back of a car at the time.
I don't know. Let's find out. A 16-year-old youth out hunting for deer says he was startled by the sudden appearance of 3 Bigfoot creatures. John Pelfrey of Bedford, Michigan, says one of the creatures was at least 6 foot tall, but its 2 companions were easily over 7 feet tall. When the monster spotted the teen, they turned and ran off, the youth said. Pretty quick and easy there. Apparently, this 16-year-old's too badass, and he scared 3 big feet, and they got the fuck out of there.
Yeah, it sounds like he interrupted maybe a family picnic.
I guess. I don't know. What? Is 6 foot? That seems like a small Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking that maybe it was a adolescent Bigfoot with the 2 parents.
Well, this magazine dropped in 81, so maybe this was like, I don't know, the Los Angeles Lakers at this time or something.
It could have been.
It's just
this
their
also could have. This
team.
Also, what's that?
It was just their basketball team taking a trip.
Yeah, maybe when they had some of those tall Eastern European fellas on their team. This kind of reminds me of that Patreon episode that you guys did.
Oh, yeah. Maybe his real name is Maggie Lent. And it's that not actually John Pelfrey. Well, it could be John Pelfrey. Maybe his just writer's name's Maggie Lent. And he just decided to write Bigfoot erotica. His
pseudonym? That story did sound like it was written by a dude. So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, Phil, let me have you take the reins and take us into the whole reason we're here today, for a conspiracy or weird story or whatever you got in plan for us.
All right. So have you ever heard of the Houska Castle in the Czech Republic?
I don't believe I have.
So it is thought that the Houska Castle was built by the order of Bohemian King Ottokar II at some point in the mid-13th century, or possibly by his father, King Wenceslav the First, earlier in the early 1200s.
Man, these Bohemians and their weird goddamn names.
Yeah, exactly. More of the sites that I found said that it was most likely Ottokar II, but there was a couple that did say King Wenceslav.
Okay, all right. Now, are you going to go into who exactly these men are?
No, not at all. That's where it ends for them.
Okay. Well, do you know a quick synopsis of like what they're just kings basically, or just important figures back then? People of power?
Yeah, so Bohemia was one of the little kind of like city-states in the Holy Roman Empire. It was fought over between Holy Roman Empire, like Hungary, Austria, all of those countries. It's just a tiny little kingdom, basically, is what Holy Roman Empire was made up of. They're not very important to this story. They're just the ones who created this castle. And I'll tell you why they may have created this castle in a little bit.
Okay, perfect.
So most forts or castles are built within range of a reliable water source, a trade network. Also, most importantly, they're built in a highly strategic location. Oddly enough, however, Houska Castle wasn't built with any of these requirements when it was erected. Now, water sources are so far from the castle that rainwater had to be collected from the roof and collected in a large stone vat in the middle of the courtyard. And there were no walls built to protect the occupants from invaders.
Okay, so they're doing like a Bear Grylls style of collecting water then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they definitely, if they built this for any reason other than what I'm just about to get into, they definitely shit the bed. They meant for it to be out of the way and unsupplied.
Could he have built it strictly to take his mistresses to?
That's actually a pretty good point. So when it was built, it was actually built pretty bare bones. They didn't even have a kitchen. There was nothing there. They just built this fort. So throughout most of history, the castle has remained unoccupied and was at times left in total disrepair, only to later be renovated and once again abandoned.
Okay. So there's something weird about this.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to get into that right now.
Hell yeah.
So according to legend, Houska Castle wasn't built to keep any sort of enemies out. Instead, however, it was meant to keep something dark inside.
Oh, okay. So that makes me wonder if this thing was around on the land before the castle was built, or what?
Oh, yeah. It very much was.
Okay.
So underneath, on the land where the castle's chapel was built, was a hole that is said to have had no bottom. Now, this hole is thought to be the gateway to hell, and legend has it that strange animal-human hybrids would crawl out of this hole and stalk the area. There were also said to be creatures with dark wings that would come out of the hole and fly above the entire area.
Damn, that's spooky. Did you happen to check out the Hellier show on Amazon?
No, not yet.
Okay. After this recording, if you're bored over the weekend, I would watch it a little bit because it's kind of reminding me of this. It's a quote-unquote documentary series that they're chasing these little goblin things in Kentucky or something, right? Like a cryptid. And it starts leading in this like really fucking weird hole where they think the Mothman's connected and all of this shit. And kind of the form you just mentioned reminds me of a Mothman, kind of.
Okay. I have one question for that. If you are in Kentucky and you are chasing around these strange little creepy goblins, how can you tell them from other just normal run-of-the-mill Kentuckians?
You know what? I think it's the shade of their skin. I could be wrong.
Or is it possible that these little goblins can read? And if you spot one reading, that's the dead giveaway.
I think what you do is if you see a goblin and you see a citizen of Kentucky, you say, the Wildcats suck. If they attack you, they're from Kentucky. If they don't attack you, they're probably just goblins.
And they're decent-hearted folk.
Yeah. Ask if they know Jimmy Dar, and if you'll know immediately.
And if they go yeehaw, then they know Jimmy Dar, and it's a Kentuckian. So legend has it that the chapel was built over the hole to contain the creatures in hell and to prevent the demonic forces from terrorizing the earth. Now, of course, building a chapel and having it consecrated would mean that anything coming out of the hole couldn't step on the ground above it.
Okay. There is actually an okay movie written by, directed by Dario Argento and written, I believe, that kind of has the same premise, if I'm being honest. Like, basically the movie is the Templars come in, kill all these people, put a church over top of them, because it's like they're witches or whatever, and it prevents them from wreaking havoc on the earth. So, yeah, that's kind of what it's reminding me. Obviously, these are, demons, or I'm not really sure what they are yet.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a bit, but that actually might have been kind of taken a little bit from this.
Could be.
I know the Templars were pretty big in that area of Europe, so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The chapel is actually dedicated to the Archangel Michael, who of course defeated Lucifer and banished him to hell. There are also many frescoes featuring the demonic legends of the area before the chapel was built, and saints renowned for fighting demons.
Hell yeah, that's actually pretty metal. I'm not gonna lie, Phil.
Yeah, they're pretty simple, like wall art, but they're pretty cool to look at. The frescoes also feature dragons and a left-handed female centaur archer, which wasn't exactly part of Christian lore at the time of the building. Okay. And a centaur is a half-man, half-horse chimera from ancient mythology. And left-handedness was considered to be a sign of evil at the time.
I was gonna say, you said something about it hadn't reached in Christianity yet or whatever. I thought maybe you were gonna say that the people being scared of left-handed people wasn't in their lore yet or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it was definitely.
Definitely? Okay. All
yeah,
right.
They thought that left-handedness was evil, and that was up until surprisingly not too long ago that was thought to be.
To be fair, if you're a left-handed pitcher in MLB, you're basically set because there's so few of them. So maybe it has something to do with that. Did they have baseball in the 1300s?
I believe they did not. I was also going to say, if you are a left-handed quarterback in the NFL, you are basically fucked.
Okay. What about Tim Tebow? Wasn't he?
He was, but he was He was pretty well, no one wanted him. That was for other reasons than him being left-handed. If you're left-handed quarterback in the NFL, they basically have to change around the entire playbook. They have to flip it so that everyone can, work with you.
You know what's funny, actually, or ironic, is that Tim Tebow's obviously an extremely Christian man. The followers way back when, probably would have killed him because he was
definitely.
left-handed.
But the Christians nowadays love the fuck out of him.
Yeah, I know.
So before the construction of the castle, prisoners who had been sentenced to death were given the option to be lowered into the hole in an exchange for a full pardon. And this was to see, first of all, if there was a bottom, and also what exactly was down there.
Okay. All right. This is basically like Army of Darkness. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, I have. It's been a while, but
they lower them in that pit, and if they survive, then they get out.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I was wondering, would you take that deal if you were sentenced to death, but you knew the local legends about this hole?
Okay, so your options are either go in the hole or they're gonna kill you?
Yes.
You might as well go in the fucking hole.
Yeah. Here's the problem, though. So as the workers lowered the first man into the hole, they heard horrible screams coming from that prisoner. The men, hearing these screams, quickly raised him back to the surface. After the man was brought to the surface, his hair had turned white, and he appeared to have aged 30 years. And some sites say that he aged 60 years, but most of them say 30.
Okay, so what could he have possibly seen down there?
Well, the prisoner claimed that the hole was full of half-human, half-animal hybrids, and they were basically covering like the walls of this hole. Legend has it that the fear just from seeing this aged him and broke him mentally. He ended up dying 2 days later in a mental asylum.
Oh shit, okay. So what could be down there? Is it Barry Soetoro and all his eggs, maybe? I was trying to think of a movie or a TV show that would terrify you enough for that, but nothing was hitting me. Nothing was coming to my head.
Oh, yeah. Could be like one of those Kardashian-style shows or the Jersey Shore. There was just a bunch of people from New Jersey down there.
Maybe it was Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Possibly. If there was people from New Jersey down there, he would have been brought up with like all sorts of bronzer, like sprayed all over him.
Yeah, they would have definitely.
From that.
He wouldn't have had white hair. They would have definitely dyed it or something.
Dyed it and spiked it into a douchey fucking like a foie thing. After hearing about the story of the prisoner becoming crazy, basically the king at the time, and whichever king could be either one, began the construction of the castle and the chapel. There were also other reports of demonic appearances around the hole, and even stories of locals being abducted and taken to the hole, being dragged down into the depths of hell.
Okay, so maybe the king's doing something responsible then. Instead of just feeding prisoners in there, he's gonna try to stop it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is weird that you hear a story where a king actually does something good and doesn't just fill his fat face.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about, 2 weeks ago, where it's like King James actually took part in writing literature and doing all this,
Yeah, exactly.
So during the 30 Years' War in the 1600s, after the Swedish army invaded the area, an officer named Oranto occupied the castle. Now he is said to have practiced the dark arts and was trying to become immortal himself. Orianto's experiments were also said to have involved a black hen.
Like chicken?
Yeah, like a chicken.
Okay, alright. You know what that reminded me, so I talked about it on Bumblebutt watching the movie The Wailing, and the Japanese guy who's doing his little spells or whatever, he specifically has black chickens that he's like doing his little spells with. Kind of interesting. Are black chickens supposed to be eviler or what?
I don't know. When I was in Guam last year, there was a shit ton of like these wild black chickens. I don't know if I sent the picture to you. I sent it to a buddy that I work with because he always calls chickens yard bird.
Okay.
So I sent him a picture of these chickens with black feathers that just roam around people's yards, and they attack you if you get too close. But
apparently that's like a pretty common thing in Florida. Just wild chickens running around everywhere.
Oh, that's a crime in sports. They talk about the black. They talk about the wild roosters in Tampa, and they talk about Tampa being a shithole like we talk about Pittsburgh being a shithole. But
even though neither of us have ever been to Pittsburgh,
yeah, I just imagine it's a shithole. But so, because of the rumors of this mysterious actions and dark practices of Oronto, legend says that a group of hunters fired arrows through the window and killed Oronto. And Oronto at the time was supposedly trying to create the elixir of life. His ghost is also said to still haunt the castle to this day.
Okay, is the elixir of life, I assume that's supposed to be like a immortality potion?
Yes. It's kind of like this legendary, I think alchemists were also trying to create it. Anyone, like magicians, were trying to make it. It was going to make you immortal. Okay, all right. I bet instead he from the darkness of that hole, he accidentally conjured up the super metal band Druid. What do you think? Yeah, it is possible. I don't know. Is where it might have been a few centuries early, but so yeah. In this story, I didn't mention it really. I fast forwarded a little bit. So the construction of the castle, like I said, was in about the mid 1200s. This all took place during the 1600s. Okay, the Goldilocks from Sweden casting his evil spells or whatever. Yep, the Swedish magician Oronto is from the 1600s. And I'm going to fast forward in a little bit also later on. But these are just kind of some of the legends of the castle throughout the centuries. Because this castle is obviously 800 years old. So, well, I don't even know if you would know, but like when I think of Scandinavians, say like the Swedes, Finns, all that, would they have still been practicing like pagan stuff around this time? Not pagan. They weren't officially pagan, I don't believe, but I mean, they have a lot of their culture coming from like the Norse. Yes, maybe that's what I'm thinking. I guess nowadays, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like they kind of lump them into pagan beliefs. But yeah, you're probably right. The Norse stuff, and they have a lot of like really dark gods and stuff. Oh yeah. There's also really like the practicing of like the dark arts, practicing of magic, all of that. It's not like it went away with Catholicism, like busting in, and Christianity. Like a lot of that stuff still held out, and that was in pretty much every single country. Okay, I got a conspiracy theory before you move forward here. What if this Swedish man made the life potion, Barry Soetoro came out of the hole, drank the potion, and now he's immortal? It could be. I mean, he does keep looking younger and younger every year. So, or maybe it was Nick Cage or Keanu Reeves or Vanna White, one of them. Jay-Z apparently. Obama's dark disciple, Keanu Reeves. Nick Cage. I can see Nick Cage. Nick Cage came from this hole, I feel like. Oh, yeah. He could be Oronto himself. I wouldn't doubt it. I gotta say, though, man, those archers shooting and killing this guy through a castle walls, sharpshooters right there. Oh, yeah, they hit him through a window. Oh, yeah. God. So during World War II, from 1938 to 1945, the Nazis occupied Houska Castle. Now, there are a few different theories concerning why the Nazis would occupy this building, none of which are for strategic purposes. Well, we know Nazis love occult stuff. Yep, and that's basically all of the theories. So it's very well known that the Nazis were very into the paranormal. The first theory is that the Nazis were very interested in the legends surrounding the Hell's Gate and the demonic beings that were said to inhabit the bottomless hole. And the Nazis may have even been trying to communicate with the beings underneath the chapel floor. I mean, I could see it. Isn't a real confirmed famous story that they had like a group of psychics, I think, or mediums or clairvoyants or something, that they'd like put together and try to communicate with extraterrestrials? Yes, they had a whole wing of the SS that was pretty much dedicated to the search for paranormal beings, objects, relics, anything. They went all over the world to try to find this shit.
Do you know specifically what they were doing here, or you just kind of know they were occupying it?
Well, that's part of the problem that I'm going to get into in a little bit.
Okay, all right.
So when the Allies, and specifically the Russians, began to close in on Prague, which is about 30 miles south of the Houska Castle, the Nazis abandoned the castle and are said to have burned all of the evidence of what they were doing inside. And this was to either hide their crimes of war or to keep their research from falling into the hands of the Allied scientists.
Interesting. Okay. So it's like the beginning of Hellboy, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Like, also Indiana Jones, it makes me think of.
Right.
How the Nazi scientists were basically out there just trying to find any paranormal thing. And then, of course, Indiana Jones thwarts them at every fucking turn.
He's got a whip. You can't fuck with a man with a whip. That's
true. He's got the whip and the hat. So the second theory is that the Nazis used the site in their genetic experiments, trying to study the animal-human hybrids to be able to create their own chimeras.
Okay. All right. You know what? I feel like people are still trying to do this, to be honest with you.
Yes. And they actually, in history, they were trying to create like new species of animal. They were trying to bring back an ancient, like a cow. And that cow still does exist to this day. They basically tried to breed all of the cows, like with the characteristics that they wanted, to get this gigantic fucking cow.
Okay, are you saying this is where, like, Kobe beef comes from?
No, not quite. It's just a cow that's a big motherfucker that they wanted to feed their growing empire with.
What if they made a cow, but it was chicken meat inside of it?
It was like what's that fucking turkey bacon where they put like the white meat on top of the dark meat? It's just chicken and cow meat mixed together.
Yeah. Very lean, though. I was going to say, I don't know if I'd want to mutate a cow because we're Midwestern boys. I love beef. Beef is like probably by far my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I miss the real shit you can get from the local, like the lockers back home. I'm eating mostly shit from like Safeway, and it tastes like it's glued together. Like the cow was sick when they cut it open.
That's not great.
Yeah. So the third and final theory was that they were there for the purpose of eugenics, to create the new Aryan race, which they consider to be superior. And they would use the knowledge gained from studying the hybrids to enhance their own genetic engineering.
Okay. I mean, if we're being fair, this is definitely not out of the realm of possibility for the weird shit Nazis were doing.
Yeah, I mean, these are all just theories. There's also theories where they were bringing prisoners of war there to experiment on them, and this was because of its extremely remote location. It would be a good place to hide shit.
Well, here's the real question. Like, say when the Nazis were there, when they built the chapel on top of it, is like the hole just completely filled in? Like, is it just filled to the brim with bricks or something? Like, what?
So the hole is covered by the chapel floor.
But couldn't you open the chapel floor and get into the hole?
Yes, I suppose you could, but it doesn't look like they did that. Because the original, I've seen videos and pictures of it, and it looks like the original floor is still there. Of course, I mean, they might have redone the floor just to make it look like it was never opened in the first place.
I feel like we need to start a GoFundMe page so Subliminal Deception can buy this castle, and then we can open it up and see what the hell's down there.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. I do have a theory which I'm going to share like at the end to what kind of like what I think this all is. But that would be really interesting if a TV show was given permission to open that back up and see what the fuck was down there.
Is it okay? I don't know if you're going to get into it, but is it confirmed there's actually a hole there?
It's not really confirmed anywhere. Basically, no one's ever tried to send a camera down that I've seen. I was searching to see if they had done some kind of like satellite imaging to see underneath the foundation. I couldn't find any of that.
Well, I mean, we certainly have the technology for them to be able to tell if there's a hole there without, like, tearing it apart.
Yeah, definitely. It would be interesting to see that. I mean, there have been TV shows, there's been documentaries that have visited there, but I'm not sure if they've ever done it either.
Huh. Interesting. Well, in America here, I don't know if you're familiar with Zach Baggins. We should send him over there.
Oh, I'm sure he would make up his own shit. He'd probably do it all in a fucking studio.
That guy is out of this fucking world, man. Jesus.
Yeah, I can't. Some of those shows I can't fucking stand to listen to. But.
Well, it's like, so his show's mainly on Travel Channel, right? And basically, since there's no sports or anything, I just kind of leave it on there when I turn the TV on, even if it's on the background. And his show, Ghost Adventures, or whatever his other crazy fucking show is, it's just like, this dude is insane. Like, I know he's making up most of this horse shit. Like, he's being possessed and all this, and then his weird little co-host pretends like demons are going in and out of his head, and it's just like, all right, guys, can you just do a legitimate paranormal investigation and not just make up shit?
Yeah, they love that money. That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. Just do a real paranormal investigation. You're tainting the waters with this horse shit of theatrics you're putting on.
Well, isn't he one of them that they think might be a shill?
Oh, he's 100% a shill.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So today, as far as Houska Castle goes, there have been reports that a human-animal hybrid may be stalking the grounds of the castle. And this hybrid is said to look like a mix of a human, a dog, and a frog.
A frog? Okay.
Yeah, that one fucked me up a little bit.
So, I'm sure you've heard of, like, I don't want to say a werewolf, but like the dog man. So if we're thinking of this creature, is this like not sectioning of the bodies, but like a amalgamation of like, it's a human, upright human that looks like a dog.
That jumps around like a frog?
Maybe it has frog legs. That's the only part of the frog you'd really want is the legs, I'd assume.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how it's sectioned off, but that's where I found a few different places that were saying, looks like a human dog frog mix. So,
interesting. Okay. Huh.
So it's also said that cars will not start if they are parked too close to the castle. Apparently, there's something with the castle that drains modern car batteries.
It's interesting that this is wrapped up in this because from all the cryptid things that I've researched and talked about or whatever, like, this seems to be a very common trope with, like, encounters with a cryptid is, like, your electronics quit working.
Yeah, not like an EMP, but if there's, like, those electronic waves, what's the thing that they use for ghosts where they try to figure out, like, if it's magnetic frequencies coming in?
Electromagnetic field.
Yeah, that. There was actually a video I saw where they took one of those inside of the chapel and they were recording all of these spikes in the magnetic waves, and they were also hearing like screams and chickens and dogs barking and shit.
Huh. Well, I don't know about presently, but is there like electronics wired in it, or is it like a historical site or what?
I'm not exactly sure. I know that you can only tour this castle during the day, and I didn't really see anything like you would see like modern electricity really in the castle.
I mean, I would assume if it's that old, they probably like didn't want to load it up with all that stuff and kind of just preserve the history of it. Kind of just left it like it is. You just kind of can walk through it or whatever. Yeah,
or you just kind of have it open during the day and don't really fuck with it at night.
Yeah, that's interesting though, huh?
Yeah, so screams can be heard coming from the surrounding woods. That's also kind of the little, like the lore of the grounds.
Okay, like, I'm assuming more of a ghostly scream, not necessarily like a scream coming from the hole or something?
No, this is coming from the surrounding woods, and like they say, it's kind of sounds like a screech.
So it could be a creature, technically. If there's creatures from the hole, it could be one of them, possibly, maybe.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like that's what it was getting to, like it was coming from a creature.
Okay.
So inside the castle, screams can be heard coming from underneath the chapel, and these screams happen mostly at night and reverberate through the chapel floors. It is also said that if you listen very carefully, sometimes you can hear something that sounds like scratching coming from the bottom of the floor. So it's almost like it's coming from the hole to underneath where the floor is.
It really makes you wonder, okay, let's just pretend this hole exists with these creatures in it. What was preventing them originally from coming out of there? And what is preventing them from still breaking through the floor or something? Like, what would it be that they can't come out of there? Is it like light? Is it like, you know what I mean?
Well, I think before the castle and the chapel was built, these things were able to come out of there and roam freely. Now what's keeping them inside the hole is supposedly this chapel, which is sacred ground. It's a church.
Like a holy barrier.
Yeah.
They don't want to come out of there. Okay.
They can't escape when there's the door on top of their gateway is sealed with a holy door, pretty much.
Well, what would they have been eating this whole time? Each other? Like, Oh,
I don't know if they eat if they're from hell. If they're from hell, supposedly. I don't know if they eat.
See, I think this is the problem. My brain is instantly thinking, like, if this was a new creature, a cryptid or something, people back then that day would just assume it's a demonic creature, not just something else.
That's true. I have no idea what's feeding them. I suppose Gordon Ramsay could be going there with some delicious fried human meat, but that's just speculation.
It could be. It's funny. I'm going to talk at the very end of this about the relation to Hellier a little bit, but continue on, Phil.
So there are said to be other poltergeists that haunt the castle. There's an apparition of a headless man that has been reported strolling through the courtyard by many different people. Some even claiming that blood is seen spouting out of the headless apparition's neck, where his head should be.
Oh, that's spooky.
Yeah. So getting into kind of current history, when it was opened up, the castle was reopened to the public in 1999 and has been under renovation ever since. Apparently, you can visit the castle today and take guided tours, even stay overnight if you get special permission.
Okay. All right. Well, I know I would certainly do it.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely do it. There are some stories that I didn't really include of people throughout history who have stayed there throughout the night, and one of which was the future leader of what would become Czechoslovakia after the Velvet Revolution. It's pretty interesting just to know that that is a place that you can stay, even though there's all that weird shit that goes on there.
I'm gonna guess that you can only stay there if you're like a TV crew or something. Like, I don't think we could, well, maybe we could submit an email and be like, look, we're a podcast from America, and we want to do a special on-the-ground report of staying here. Will you allow us?
Yeah, just tell them that we're big shots.
Yeah.
Just tell them you're American. That should be your golden ticket into anywhere, even though it's usually the hand in your face. But we're American. Oh, you can get the fuck out of here then.
We'll bring you 2 cheeseburgers. How does that sound? In-N-Out Burger, we'll bring it to you. But the, I don't know, man. Something about this whole story just really perplexes me. Like, I'm really curious about if there's actually a hole under there.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like, if I couldn't find it, but it would be awesome to see if they actually did the ground penetrating radar underneath the stone to see if there was dirt underneath it. If they could find like a void. I mean,
if we're being completely irrational here, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that it could be a cave system or something under there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's these giant chasms all over the earth. Everyone thinks that they're bottomless pits, but that's just because they go down for miles and miles and no one wants to go down there. Well, or has.
Okay, since I assume we're basically at the end here, so the reason I'm saying you should watch Hellier, now I will openly admit I was kind of watching it in the background while Bianca was watching it, because she was really involved, or she was deeply invested with the show. Now, my partner, Adam, from Blah 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 Podcast, has watched the show, and Bianca's partner, Ashley, from Creeper Real, has watched the show, and they're all really into it. And the interesting thing is it's these creatures that supposedly live in these caves I think they're leaning towards they come out of the earth or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if that was an actual thing, that these creatures live underground or whatever. What if they could be some weird creature that lives underground here as well?
I have seen, there are different memes that I've seen of people connecting the disappearances of humans with all of these weird cave systems and where they open to.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's what that show is, I guess. It gets really, to me, really extremely wonky from the pieces I've seen, but I think if you're bored, check it out. It's kind of interesting. It gets you wondering, but again, it's a documentary, so it's one-sided, and that's kind of the point of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Modern day, they're reporting all these creatures coming out of a cave, and supposedly, if there's a big-ass hole, which is probably really a cave, or a sinkhole or something, that maybe there is something down the creatures, aliens, who the fuck knows?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, mythology throughout forever has said that anytime that there's like an opening to the underworld or a cave system, it always correlates to one of these, like a real place on Earth that is an opening just into the Earth, like a chasm or a cave. So, yeah, it's crazy.
It always reminds me of, especially Hellier, like your Green Kids story.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard little green beings coming out of this cave or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's that too. The little, and they claim that they were from an alternate dimension or whatnot, the center of the Earth.
Right. I don't know. Makes you wonder. It's really weird.
Yeah. So like, kind of talking about that, the history before like Christianity got to this area, paganism was obviously really big with the Germanic tribes, and they have like, they think that the legend of hell, like the opening towards hell, is actually from pagan mythology and goes way, way back, like thousands of years back, like to this area that where these stories come from.
I could definitely see it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would really like to look more into that. Like, it's not really anything that's written down, and Christianity destroyed a lot of the pagan artifacts everywhere they went to, which is kind of shitty. But
well, I mean, Greek mythology had hell too, right?
They had Hades.
Well, underworld, whatever.
Yeah, the underworld. And they had heaven, which was the elite, like the Elysian Fields or whatever, however you say that, and hell, which was the underworld.
Oh, this is how ingrained we are. Every time I hear Hades, all I can think about is that blue fucker from the movie Hercules.
Yeah, me too. That's exactly what I thought of. So basically, just to kind of round this out a little bit, as I mentioned, guided tours can be taken, and they are taken during the day. Because of the many renovations over the last 800 years, the castle's really changed a lot. I did find a review of the castle that claimed that a room full of creepy dolls, the man apparently had visited the castle a year before, and he gave it a 5 when it had the creepy dolls because he was freaked out so much. Apparently they changed that room to be just old bicycles. So he only gave it a 3 after that. Okay.
I wonder why the hell they had a room full of dolls.
Yeah, apparently this was actually a castle that later on was actually like a residence. So if some weird rich person wanted a room full of creepy dolls, they put it there. It was also a hunting lodge. So there's also rooms that are just full of like dead animal trophies and dead animal skins and
it's interesting. Well, to be fair, my dear past grandmother had in her upstairs house, you probably had seen it before, that room of creepy dolls.
Oh yeah, no. Fucking have nightmares to this day.
Yeah, full of those creepy porcelain dolls.
Yeah, that was I remember she was a collector of many things. I think some of those rooms were completely full of stuff.
You can say hoarder, it's fine.
She was a hoarder. Yeah, she was a hoarder. The downstairs looked nice. It was just the upstairs that was full of crap.
Yeah, I know. That upstairs still creeps me out.
Yeah. So I should also say that Houska Castle has been used for meetings by UFO enthusiasts and other paranormal investigators since opening 2 decades ago.
See, I could definitely see that with all the lore attached to this thing and like the mystery surrounding it. It's gonna attract ufologists and paranormal people. Hell, if I was remotely close to this thing, I would check it out in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, totally. I wish when I was in that part of Europe, I would have actually known about it and maybe took a train there. Because I think I could have, when I was in Germany, I could have taken a train one of those 3 weekends I was there.
That would have been sweet. Well, you know what? You've always been into conspiracies and stuff too, but I think with this show, it's kind of really piqued our interest, or my personally, it's really escalated it.
Yeah, the thing that really held me back was the fact that I'm lazy. And when on my days off, I just like to sit on my ass. I don't like to go places.
Hey, you and me both, dude.
Yeah. So some of my bigger sources for this were, I don't usually mention them, but I feel like I should because I got a lot of really good info from these places. Obviously, Wikipedia, just like every time. The National Paranormal Society.org, darktourist.com, magicbohemia.com. There was also a really good source. So if you want to see what the castle and the chapel look like inside and out, I found a really good site with pictures and a video. And it also had some information in this chick's blog. So it was amyscrypt.com, and the post was Portal to Hell, Haunted Houska Castle. And I'll try to remember to post that on Instagram. Okay. She had a really good video. She even caught up some That's where I was telling you how the person caught the EVPs. That's where I heard the EVPs from, was this lady.
Okay, well, check out Amy's Crypt then. Her blog, you said?
Yeah, it's a video inside her blog.
Okay. Maybe she's been there or something, I assume. Maybe, is it her EVPs or just a collection of paranormal stuff?
Oh, it's her there, and then it's a dude, filming her.
Okay.
They go around the grounds, and then they go inside the chapel and the castle.
Well, hell yeah, Amy. I hope maybe you'll be a listener after this episode drops. Now, Phil, do you have any personal theories of your own about what could be going on in this castle?
There was a couple different sites that gave what it might be. I think the biggest one and the most common one that I saw was this could actually be like one of those openings in the earth, a chasm that has gas emanating from it, and this caused hallucinations.
Oh, okay. I could definitely see that. Do you think the turned his hair white maybe could have just been an added layer to the prisoner's tale, maybe to spice up the story a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. That is known to happen quite a bit, where a story comes out, maybe the dude got freaked out from the being lowered down in there, and it just scared the fuck out of him, and then they elevated the story to jazz it up a little bit, put a little spice on it.
Well, now that you've said you might trip balls by going down in this hole, there's going to be a shitload of Grateful Dead fans are going to try to break in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't an unusual thing. It happens all over the world. Probably the most famous one was the Oracle at Delphi. The gas veins there caused hallucinations, and the priestess, known as the Pythia, would give these really detailed, well, according to some accounts, they were detailed. According to other accounts, she would just babble, and then the priest would give the interpretation. But the line of Pythia at Delphi would give basically all of the great Greek rulers for hundreds of years their prophecies. And that was dedicated to Apollo. So
imagine if our president gave us instructions when he was just tripping balls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's looking at the news, it's quite possible.
Well, he's doing it sober, so that's different.
That's amphetamines, but supposedly, allegedly, of course. But if you've ever seen the movie 300, there was that dancing chick when
the Oracles.
What was his name? Yeah, the Oracle, but the Trojan general, the main character, Leonidas. Yeah, he went and saw the Oracle on the mountaintop, and yeah, it was that one.
Okay, well, if awesome Amy, the blogger, hears the show and wants to email us or anybody else about their feelings, or if somebody's ever been there, please fucking contact us. Where can they do that, Phil?
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. You can get a hold of us at subliminaldpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up on our Instagram, Subliminal Deception Podcast, which is on IG. We've actually gotten a shit ton of really good comments. Listeners have, it really started with that Dear David story. So thank you everyone for all of that. We also have our own personal ones. Mine's SDPod Phil. I am actively using it now that I'm shut in, hopefully released soon. Cody, you've got a couple?
Yeah, you can follow my personal Instagram at CodyZabub. I've been really into the collecting crazy people's comments from Reddit involving conspiracy and whatever, and I always tag Phil in them because he needs to enjoy in the laughter with me. So yeah, give me a follow and watch me troll people. Otherwise, if you are into true crime or paranormal or whatever, check out my other podcast at Bumblebee Podcast. You can probably find out whatever you're listening to Subliminal Deception on. The last thing we need you to do is to log in iTunes, leave the show a 5-star review, preferably written, write whatever the hell you want in there, doesn't really matter. If you're a Spotify user, just hit that follow button and you'll always be notified when we drop a new episode. Other than that, Phil, this was a fantastic journey into a very weird world where I personally would love to have time traveled and seen what the fuck was going on in that hole in the 1300s, I should say. Otherwise, guys, we're going to hit you up next week with our next conspiracy or whatever we decide to cover. So thank you very much, Phil. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.